What's up, guys? How you doing? And welcome to another episode of our Fireside Chat number 3. And again, we're going back 37 years, and a lot of this is coming back to me, and I'm like, trying to the time years might be off a little bit, but it doesn't matter. It's about the story and the journey, not about like being like perfect, of the time. What's the word? The time frame, but whatever. All right. So, okay, back to Mac Tools. You've seen me talk about this Mac Advantage, okay? But when I first started there, the program was called Mac Cap. Later switched to Mac Advantage. And at the end of the day, it was the biggest scam ever portrayed on all the dealers that worked for Mac Tools at the time. We all lost thousands and thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And it got to a point there was a class action lawsuit against Mac, and it went on for years. And unfortunately, at the end of the day, it didn't go through. There's some crazy guy out of Canada that started this class action lawsuit, and we were in it. They wanted us to pay to be in it, but if you know how a class action lawsuit works, you don't have to pay to be in a class action lawsuit. So it didn't work out anyway. Okay, where we left off the last episode, we were talking about my tool truck, and that was the diesel. I believe it was a 1988 6.9 non-turbo. It was a dog, but it was a brand new truck, and it looked really nice, and the roof leaked. And it nickel and dined me to death. And that truck tried putting me out of business numerous times. But while all this is happening, because the business was not good, Mac Tools was closing down their Ohio manufacturing plants, and they were going to source them out to the Stanley plants that they owned all over the country, which on paper sounds really good, but the problem they had was they told all the employees that they were going to close the plant down, and they didn't take it so good. So there was a lot of sabotage going on in the factory and plant. So that led to production problems, which led to supply problems, which led to inventory problems. And also at the time, they decided that they were going to no longer sell their screwdrivers, the ones they had forever, the plastic handle, the wood handle ones, and they were going to move production of those. And us Mac tool dealers for a year, and if you guys remember, this is back in the 90s, us dealers went almost a year without having screwdrivers in inventory at all. 0 cents. And that would be no big deal today. Say you were a gear wrench dealer or a Mac dealer. Say you were a Mac dealer and you couldn't sell Mac screwdrivers for a year. No problem. You sell gear wrench, you sell WIA, you can sell Vessel. You could sell Sunex, you could sell Proto, you could sell numerous brands. Titan. I mean, there's hundreds of brands of screwdrivers you could sell. But back in the 90s, this is before the internet was around, there was no way to find screwdriver sets. So us dealers went years, and they brought a temporary line in. It was called lollipops because it was clear plastic handles, and they were like blue and red. And I barely remember this. This is going back years. Actually, that was probably in the late 80s. Yeah, or 90s. I don't remember. It's so hard to tell. So now, forget about screwdrivers. We didn't have screwdrivers for almost a year. Crazy. So here comes the other problem. Socket sets, hardline, chrome. At the time, Mac Tools was making them in Sabino, Ohio. We talked about that. They had their own manufacturing plant. I witnessed it with my own eyes. They made everything in Ohio. Stamped, chrome, sorted, packaged, Ohio, Sabino. So when they told all the people in Ohio they were going to shut the plants down, they were going to shut them down in a year. Again, like I said, they were sabotaging the plant. They were just cut production down. It really screwed things up. They were mad. Of course they were mad. At the time, they were there for 50-some years. And to be told they're going to move out to Dallas, Massachusetts. It was like 3 or 4 states they outsourced to Stanley, which owned Mac Tools at the time anyway. So these guys were disgruntled. So it led to shortage of sockets. So we were at one time, we were getting socket. Now, it's very common in a tool truck, if somebody breaks a socket, you pull a socket out of a set. cut the plastic open, pull a socket out. And, at the time, it was always a 10 millimeter or a 15 millimeter. I remember those were the ones that were always breaking, 10s and 15s. Today it's like 13s is like the, 10s and 13s, 8s, 10s and 13s are the most common to break these days. But at one point, right hand of God, Mac Tools was sending us socket sets with a packing peanut, a white styrofoam packing peanut where the 10 millimeter should be, or where the 15 millimeter would be. And instead of sending us out complete socket sets, because they didn't have any, they were sending out socket sets that were missing pieces. Now, think about a dealer who's got a brand new set of sockets that somebody wants to buy with a packing peanut in it. You're not going to buy that. Nobody would buy that. You became the joke of the town. And Mac Tools, they always seem to be doing stuff to make the dealers, lose money, lose face in the market. It was Mac Tools was the company Mac Tools was. They really, really tried hard to put themselves out of business, and it's amazing that they're still in business. That's one. But, they were number 2 at one time. They were a strong number 2, and they got themselves down to I believe they're down to 3 or 4 at this point. I don't even really follow them because there's no Mac dealers left in my area. I mean, as far as New Jersey goes, there's some guy down South Jersey, maybe, or Central Jersey, but there's none around here. I haven't seen a Mac truck in years. The only time I see a Mac truck if I pass a junkyard or a used car lot and there's one sitting there for sale. Besides that, we never see them. Anyway, it was funny. The other day, my cousin came in here. He's like, "Hey, Nick, I'm looking for this is back to the part of tools that we used to sell tons of that we haven't sold in years." And he goes, "Nick, I'm looking for a remote starter switch." I'm like, the funny part of the story is I was out the week before, and he came in and asked my son. He goes, "Nick," I'm looking for a remote starter switch." My son's like, "What's that?" He's like, "You don't know what a remote starter switch is?" My son's like, "No, I never heard of it." And the reason why that my son hasn't heard of a remote starter switch is because we haven't sold them in years. I mean, years. And the reason being is because now everybody just uses a power probe, and it put that tool into obscurity, because now everybody just uses a power probe. And for the record, you're not supposed to when you use a power probe and you want to give something the voltage, you're supposed to turn the switch on first and then round it out, or then give it the power. Because if you put it on the item and then hit the switch, that's how you burn a switch out. The saying is let the tip take the hit, not the switch. But I do carry extra switches in my truck, and it pops in, pops out. And your dealer probably should too. But so now I still enjoyed working for Mac Tools because I was yellow blood. I was like, oh man, they're going to get better. They're going to get better. And I always thought they were going to turn around and get better. And one day, my district manager, I'm not going to say his name. I've said his name numerous times, but I've had a few district managers through the years. But I was at a Chevy dealership, and he always knew where we were. He always knew where to find us on what day. So I was at a Chevy dealership in Irvington, and he came walking in. And every time I seen him, he had dress pants on, dress shoes, button-down Mac shirt with the logo on it. And, he always looked professional. So this day, he walks into the Chevy dealership, and he's in sneakers, jeans, and some kind of shirt, T-shirt or whatever. But I think it was a T-shirt. And he came in looking like his dog died. And I was like, "Bro, you okay?" He goes, "No, not really." I go, "What's the matter?" And he came to inform me that Mac Tools, they used to pay the district managers, the DMs, they used to pay them, they would get 10% of whatever their group sold. So it was easy to figure out. Whatever the group sold for the year, I think there's 10 or 12 guys, he got 10% of it. So he was making, this is back in the early, well, I guess it was at that point, it was probably the 90s. He was making, well over $150,000 a year. So he was more than happy. And he came in, and I go, "What's the matter?" He goes, "I just left a meeting, the other day with Mac Tools, and they cut our salaries." I said, "What do you mean they cut your salaries?" He goes, "They put everybody in the country on a flat salary." And I'm like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah." He goes, I make $50,000 a year now. Now, this guy at the time, I knew him very well, and he was living in a beautiful house. Wife, I don't think she was working, and he was, had a really nice life going. And he went from making over $150,000 a year to $50,000 like that, because corporate, that's what they do to you. Same thing that Mac Tools did with us through the years. They gave us a good product, a line to sell, and we made money, and then they would take away product from us, take away lines from us. Then we didn't make any money. We figured it out like Mac Advantage. Mac Cap came out, we made money. They started taking it from us. Boom, Mac Advantage. Same thing. Make money, lose money. That's what Mac Tools was. I mean, anytime we figured out how to make money with Mac Tools, they would switch things up and take it away. So my tool truck at the time was feeling me miserably. So I didn't have a lot of money. Some local Mac tool dealer was going out of business, 2 towns away. His name was Nick something, also Nick. And I took over payments, had to give some money down, took over payments, and I bought his truck. It was a gas truck, a Chevy step van, big block Chevy. And yeah, it drank a lot of gas, but you know what? It ran like a top. And that truck really saved my ass through the next couple of years, because it was a good truck. And it always started up, it always ran. And the bad thing, and if you're a tool dealer, you'll know, the bad thing with them Chevy step vans is brakes. 2 front brake jobs a year, 1 rear brake job a year. They would just eat through brakes if you had any kind of weight on them. That was one of the downfalls with that. It was just, that was one of the problems with those trucks. And then that's why, after the next segment, I'm going to talk about what changed my life and my business, and when I got rid of I think the truck was a 93, the Chevy gas job. But like I said, that truck ran good, man. It ran good, and it was good. But the business was still failing. I think it was that truck was a 93, 95, 93, I think it was. 93, 94. It's a good truck. It didn't give me any problems. I did a couple little, quirks through the years with it, but nothing major. No major breakdowns. Did I put a trans in that truck? I think I put a transmission in that truck. Yeah, definitely put a trans in that truck. I put a trans in that truck. Yeah, that was the only major thing was the transmission. Motor always ran like a top. So again, that truck was good to me, and that was a good thing, the truck. But business was getting worse and worse and worse. And finally, I was like, I just can't maintain lifestyle. I wasn't even making any money. I was working on Harleys and, selling Harley parts to make ends meet. And I kind of was fun. I kind of enjoyed it. But I knew it wasn't going to last forever selling parts. The motorcycle market at the time was going crazy. So I was making good money doing that and working on motorcycles, building bikes too, for that matter. I mean, I've had a few bikes through the year. I still got all my Harleys. But, I was like, I had kids, and, my wife was working, and I had to figure out a way to make money. And I guess it was 2003, and I'll tell you how I know. Because right there on the back of my arm, where the horseshoe is, I have the 2 best days of my life tattooed. 1983, when I met my wife, and 2003, when I finally left Mac Tools. And when I left Mac Tools, at that point, I was either going to go find another line of work to be in, or change my life, and change my business motto and change my business platform. Easy Red Wrench Racks just came in. And funny thing with these is, and that's what, where we are today in business for me and my son. We were in the prototype meeting with these tools maybe 2 years ago, and we've seen these tools pre-production and mock-ups, and it's now we have them here. And a lot of dealers, for the first time, they'll go to a tool show, they'll see a hot new tool that's coming out. But me and my son were in the production meeting with this years ago, and they're available for $39.95 on the app, on the website. We have an app, we have an app website, we have everything. But stuff like this, and this is fun to me. Stuff like this is fun. I see new tools being made, and some of the ideas we help with. This I didn't help with. I just seen this, But wrench racks are a funny subject. They've been trying to come out with a bigger, better wrench rack every year for the last forever. This is pretty nice, man. Check it out. How strong is the magnet? Magnet's that strong. You know, that's pretty impressive. All right, guys, listen to me. Get ready for part 4. It's going to be a good one, I promise. We're going to start off when things started change, when things changed for the better for me in business, and I really started pushing the envelope and making changes in within myself, the business, and the industry. Guys, like we always say, come for the price and stay for the history. Peace.